who has more cred than you, living after being shot 9 times?
I don't know what the criteria are for street credibility. Or
That's it.
If there's something that creates more merit for you. I looked at that experience as something that was unfortunate that I had to, because
I forget, why the guy shoot you 9 times? Was it drugs or something?
It was paid to do it.
He was paid to do it.
Yeah.
The day 50 Cent was shot, I was walking through, and BMF was there too. Meechnam was there too.
The world remembers 50 Cent surviving 9 shots, but few realize that Gene Deal was the first one who knew it was coming. At the time, reports focused on the miraculous survival of the then unknown rapper, but new revelations suggest that fate may not have been the only thing on his side. Eyewitness accounts and insider testimony have shed light on the involvement of Gene Deal, a former bodyguard to Sean Diddy Combs, who allegedly warned 50 Cent in advance about looming threats. Deal, known for his embedded ties within both the entertainment industry and the streets, claimed he had received intelligence through his sources, suggesting that 50 was being targeted. According to Gene, he went so far as to provide 50 with a bulletproof vest, a critical act that might have saved the rapper's life. While the police investigated the shooting as another case of street violence, the shadows behind it suggest far deeper, more organized forces at play, prompting renewed scrutiny of the links between hip-hop, organized crime, and the struggle for control within both. Further digging reveals that Gene Deal wasn't acting alone or baselessly. His association with a little-known but well-connected crew called Murder Inquest positioned him at the crossroads of brewing street tensions. These weren't just casual neighborhood disputes, but rather escalating conflicts between powerful factions, each with one foot in the streets and the other in the music industry. Gene was reportedly among the first people to reach out to 50 after the shooting, and sources claim he was already investigating who orchestrated the hit, even as 50 was still recovering. The presence of insiders like Gene at this crucial moment hints at a coordinated effort not just to warn Jackson, but possibly to expose the deeper network that had targeted him. The situation points toward an alarming overlap of music business rivalries and actual street warfare, something that had been whispered about but rarely confirmed. What remains chilling is the level of foresight Gene claims to have had, suggesting the hit was not random, but rather expected. Among the most striking revelations from this unfolding narrative is the reported presence of members of the Black Mafia family, known as BMF, at the scene of the shooting. At the time, BMF, led by Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, was rising in both prominence and power across the US, with operations in both drug trafficking and hip-hop music promotion. Sources suggest that key members of BMF were either nearby or in direct contact with individuals linked to the event. While their involvement may not have been operational, their proximity speaks volumes. Their presence raised eyebrows among federal investigators who were already keeping tabs on the group's activities, including laundering and racketeering. The BMF's association with several high-profile rappers, including Young Jeezy and 50 Cent himself, adds layers of complexity to the case. The idea that such a powerful street organization might have had eyes on the shooting introduces an entirely new dimension, one where allegiances were fluid and silence was often bought. The plot thickens further with allegations involving Kenneth Supreme McGriff, a notorious drug kingpin with a well-documented vendetta against 50 Cent. Sources within law enforcement and the music industry have long speculated that McGriff had both motive and means to orchestrate the attack, and emerging reports now suggest that someone from 50's own inner circle may have leaked information to Supreme ahead of the ambush. These claims point toward a potential inside job, a betrayal that elevates the tragedy beyond a simple street hit. McGriff's deep ties to Murder Inc., the label run by Irv Gotti and home to rapper Ja Rule, one of 50's fiercest rivals, has long fueled suspicions that professional jealousy may have morphed into something more sinister. Supreme's strategic use of street networks, coupled with Murder Inc.'s resources and industry clout, paints a disturbing picture of how corporate and criminal interests may have intersected to eliminate a rising threat in the form of 50 Cent. The federal investigation that followed just a few years later seemed to confirm what many had suspected. In 2003, the FBI raided Murder Inc.'s Manhattan offices under suspicion that the label was laundering drug money for Supreme's criminal empire. Although Irv Gotti and his brother Chris were eventually acquitted, the trial unearthed a trove of financial records and communications that pointed to a deeply entwined relationship between the music label and Supreme's narcotics operation. For prosecutors, the case was a chance to show how hip-hop could be used as a front for organized crime, and for observers, it was a turning point that brought underground speculation into public discourse. Despite the lack of convictions, the evidence was damning enough to leave a permanent stain on Murder Inc.'s legacy, and it breathed new life into theories that the attack on 50 Cent had been part of a wider campaign to eliminate competition through both legal and illegal means. Adding another layer of intrigue to this already complex story is the involvement of Daryl "Homo" Baum, a feared street enforcer and one-time bodyguard to boxer Mike Tyson. Baum was widely believed to be the triggerman behind the attack on 50 Cent, although no formal charges were ever filed. His murder just 3 weeks after the shooting, allegedly tied to a drug-related dispute, has fueled speculation for years. Some believe his death was retaliation, others suggest it was a cleanup operation to prevent him from talking. Mike Tyson, while never implicated, acknowledged Baum as a close friend, a statement that only intensified media and public interest in the connection. The coincidence of timing and the lack of closure in Baum's murder continue to raise suspicions. To this day, questions linger about whether Baum acted alone, under orders, or as part of a broader scheme orchestrated by those whose identities remain hidden. Equally mysterious is the figure known only as Monster, a towering presence who served for years as 50 Cent's personal bodyguard. Described as highly disciplined and almost militaristic in demeanor, Monster was a constant presence during some of the rapper's most volatile moments, including live confrontations and backstage brawls. However, their professional relationship appears to have soured in recent years. Reports indicate that Monster was abruptly dismissed and has since begun shopping a tell-all interview, rumored to be valued in the six-figure range. Among the alleged topics is a controversial YouTube video, briefly live, then mysteriously deleted, that hinted at undisclosed incidents from 50 Cent's past. If true, this could indicate that Monster has access to sensitive information that could reshape public perception of the events surrounding 50's rise and the threats he faced. The silence from both parties only adds to the intrigue. What many fans never knew is that 50 Cent narrowly escaped a second assassination attempt just months after his debut album dropped. In September 2003, while leaving a hotel in Jersey City, shots were fired at him in what law enforcement described as a clear hit attempt. Fortunately, no one was injured, but the message was received loud and clear. In response, 50 reportedly overhauled his entire security setup, bringing in former military operatives and ex-law enforcement to ensure he would never be caught off guard again. His public appearances became more controlled, his movements guarded, and his inner circle shrank dramatically. This period marked a transition for 50 Cent, from a rising artist with enemies to a high-value target who had to operate like a CEO running a high-risk enterprise. Despite the chaos and violence surrounding his early years in the industry, 50 Cent has never stopped seeking the truth behind the attempts on his life. His disdain for former rival Irv Gotti was made brutally clear when he publicly mocked Gotti's death rather than offering condolences, a gesture that spoke volumes about unresolved pain and deep mistrust. Even more telling was 50's decision to repost Gene Deal's interview years later, effectively endorsing the very theory that links his shooting to a coordinated, strategic takedown orchestrated by his industry foes. For a man who often avoids public speculation and conspiracy theories, this rare move suggests that he believes Gene's story may finally reveal the players behind the curtain. The story of 50 Cent's near-fatal shooting and the events that followed is more than just a tale of survival. It's a window into an era when the lines between music, money, and the underworld blurred so severely that life and death were decided not in boardrooms, but in street corners and whispered warnings. From Gene Deal's quiet heroism to the shadowy dealings of Murder Inc., the web of intrigue surrounding 50's rise remains dense and dangerous. While many players have vanished, been silenced, or moved on, the question still haunts fans and investigators alike. Was 50 Cent merely lucky to survive, or was he saved by a hidden network operating behind the scenes? Do you think 50 Cent will ever find out who was really behind the hit? Drop your theory in the comments, because the truth might still be out there.